Let's be honest. Most leadership frameworks sound great in theory, but fall apart on Monday morning. You leave inspired, and then reality hits. What if leadership development wasn't about collecting concepts, but about diagnosing what's actually holding you back and fixing that first? Today's conversation gets radically practical about how leaders grow, change behavior, and create real impact where it matters.
Welcome to Rise to Lead, the podcast where heart-driven leaders come together to inspire and innovate. They will share actionable tips and insights that help you lead your team more successfully, advance your career or business as a leader, achieve greater impact, and experience deeper fulfillment. I'm your host, Regina Huber, guiding you through deep conversations about leadership that's rooted in service, freedom, and the desire to leave a positive mark on the world.
Welcome to Rise to Lead. With me today are the Vances, Dr. Garland Vance and Dorothy Wood Vance from Tennessee. Did I get that right?
You did. Yes. Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you with us. I am looking forward to this conversation. Lots of great stuff that I have read in your book and on your website and everywhere else. So really impressive. Dr. Garland Vance believes every person deserves to work with a great leader and every leader can become great. He has spent over 25 years helping organizations develop the leaders they need to succeed. He is the author of Getting Unbusy, which Forbes named one of the 7 books everyone in your team should read. So remember that, listeners. Dorothy Wood Vance has been helping leaders discover and maximize their unique talents and gifts for over 25 years, guiding good leaders to become great. Along with her husband, Garland, she co-founded Vance Leadership, recognized as one of the top 20 leadership development companies in America. Impressive.
Oh, thank you.
And I love how your last name goes so well with, this Vance.
Isn't that nifty?
Yes. Yeah. You'd be amazed how many people miss that for years sometimes.
Really?
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. Well, I have lots of questions for you. So let's jump right in, shall we?
Sounds great.
Awesome. I saw that you focus on 7 traits and they happen to start all with a C, right? So it's character, competence, capacity, clarity. I need to read them because there's so many.
Yeah.
Community, culture, and consistency. So they
Well
all
done.
start with a C.
Yeah.
Now that's really interesting because I have done presentations where I talked about the 8 C's of inspirational leaders.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and the one that coincides is competence, although some others are a little bit similar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, mine were competence, curiosity, co-creation, courage, commitment, care, candor, and compassion. I mean,
Wow,
they're
that's
all
awesome.
great for sure.
Yeah. When you try to alliterate like that, you realize how many words start with C. That's just
Yeah.
a popular letter in the alphabet.
You just read my thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Not in English, though, not in other languages.
Okay.
It just, yeah, English has a lot of words with C
A lot
at
of
the
C
beginning.
words.
True.
Right. So back to your 7 traits, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say them again so people can remember them, maybe.
Mhm.
Character, competence, capacity, clarity, community, culture, and consistency.
Yes.
Yes. And you also call those 7 traits the 7 root issues that leash leaders.
Yes.
And I saw that you claim at least 95% of company problems come from just these 7 root issues. So
Yeah.
explain to us why.
Yes. So what we found in our research is that it is two areas. One is every problem in a business starts, or at least is influenced by a leadership issue. Nobody likes to admit this, especially leaders, but we can look at ourselves in the mirror and know this, right? We can know that the decisions that leaders make affect everybody else in the organization. The strategies that leaders choose or don't choose affects everybody in the organization. The way that they treat people affects everybody in the organization. And so the foundational premise is every problem in a business starts as a leadership issue, and every solution in a business starts as a leadership issue. And then from there, we started looking at 25 years of research and of working with leaders, and we started saying, what were the common issues that we had to work with leaders on? And that's where those 7 issues came from. And what we discovered, we say 95%, and we say it in part to leave room for new growth and new learning. But the truth is, in 25 years, we've never worked with an organization where one of those 7 was not the root issue.
Wow. Yeah. So that's how you uncovered through your own experience, right? Through your own
Yeah,
observations, you
yeah.
uncovered this.
Yeah, so through a lot of, so my doctoral work was in leadership, so there was a lot of work
Mhm.
in there, a lot of our own observations, a
And a
lot
lot
of
of
working with
research.
people, a lot of research. So it was really kind of multifaceted, but our own conversations and our own clients certainly played a significant role in coming to those 7.
Okay. Yeah. So, so you also talk about being unleashed, right? And
Hmm.
and your book is in fact called Unleashed Leadership. One of the books.
Right.
And so my next question would be, because we also talk about these 7 traits as the 7 root issues that leash leaders, right?
Mm.
So how then does it feel to be leashed? How can someone recognize the symptoms in themselves before it's too late?
Yeah.
The first clue that someone is leashed is when they start to feel that there is a disparity between their current abilities and responsibilities. So that can happen in a couple different ways. One way is they notice that their abilities are exceeding their responsibilities. They're in a role that they're overqualified for. And that can introduce a leash because they can get bored, they can feel underappreciated, underutilized, and they're just not in an environment where they have the freedom to excel with their full potential. But the more common way that we notice people get leashed is eventually they will find themselves promoted into a position where their responsibilities are greater than their abilities. And when a person feels that leash, they have a few options. And what we have found is if there's not a really strong leadership development program in place, or at least an environment that allows for growth and development, then a person chooses to stay stuck in that leash. They recognize that their abilities are not matching the responsibilities that the role requires, but they don't know what to do about it. They don't know where to start. And that's what the 7 C's address is where do I start? How do I get to that root issue that will unleash me?
Yeah, and what we found is there are really 2 emotional reactions that people feel. So if you understand that being
Interesting.
leashed is a disparity between your abilities and your responsibilities, then pay attention to 2 emotions. The first emotion is the feeling of 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. It's where every day you get to the end of the day and you are like, oh, I feel like I made a little bit of progress, but I'm further behind. So 2 steps forward, 5 steps back. The second very common emotion that we find with leash leaders is an imposter syndrome type of emotion where there's this sense of, I hope nobody finds out that I'm not qualified for this job.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is they are qualified for the job, but their abilities haven't yet caught up with their responsibilities.
Yes, and of course, if we knew everything for the new job, it wouldn't be growth. So we
Right.
wouldn't probably want the
Yes.
job in the first place.
Yes.
Right.
So that's what we often forget. We think we have to know everything and be 100% prepared. But
Yeah.
if it were like that, then yeah, why are we even taking a new job? We
Right.
Good
could
point.
stay where we are, right? So yeah, we also need to remind ourselves of this. And then sometimes I've also found that it's not just those theoretical leadership programs and seminars that help us in those situations, but really coaching and really
Yes.
Mm,
personalized and customized attention to our specific needs
Yeah.
would
yes.
help best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so then when a leader feels him or herself leashed,
Mm-hmm.
how then can leaders unleash themselves? You talk about that in your book, Unleashed Leadership, right? But if you had to summarize it just in a few words for us, how would you describe it?
Yeah.
What we've done is we've put together a three-stage process. The
Mhm.
first stage is you decide that this is important enough to you that you want to get unleashed, that you're going to put that effort in to grow and to develop. The second stage is you take some time to discern, and that's stepping back and, as you were talking about, looking at who you are as an individual and where your particular areas of growth are needed, how you've performed in the past compared to how you'd like to perform in the future, what the needs of past roles have been compared to what your present role is. So there's a lot of thinking and investigating in that discern stage.
And in the discern stage is actually where the 7 issues come in, because that's where you are able to look at the presenting problems that are causing you some friction and some frustration, and identify which of those 7 issues are actually at the root of the presenting problems that you're frustrated with.
So once you figure that out, it's time to move on to that final stage, which is the deliver stage. And there's where all the action happens. All this work that you've been doing prior to decide that this is important enough and to discern what you need to do and what your strategy is going to be. This is where you deliver on that thinking.
And the beauty of this stage is when you do this stage well, what you find is the issues that are holding you back. So let's say that you realize that you have a capacity issue, that you don't have the time, the energy, the attention that it requires to lead people, that you're not good with delegating. So you create the bottleneck for your organization. So if you discover that it's a capacity issue, then in stage 3, you develop the trait of capacity. And so the issue becomes the cure.
Hmm.
Okay. So I heard decide, discern, and deliver
That's
That's it.
right.
stages. Okay, great. Well, thanks for explaining that so well to us. And yeah, so, for me, when I was first thrown into a leadership position, to call
Yes,
it
as most
something,
people
I
are.
had no preparation whatsoever, like
Yes.
background or whatsoever, right? So yeah, I could have used a few of those of those tips for sure. It was still a great experience, but yeah, it would have sometimes helped to get a
Yeah.
little coaching, which was not my option at the time.
Yes.
Okay, so you uh, so we touched on this before, right? But you
Hmm.
said in the book that every problem in a business starts as a leadership problem.
Yeah.
Can you still expand a little bit on that, or just give us a maybe an example?
Sure. So let me give you an example from an organization we worked with several years ago. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm going to go all the way up to the very top. So the CEO of this organization was a wonderful man. He was very focused on the numbers, right? The how's our revenue, how's our profitability, what's our customer retention, what's our all of the numbers. He was very concerned with the numbers, and he wanted to drive those numbers up. He was less concerned with some of the fuzzier things like relationships, developing culture, things along those lines. Well, over his tenure as CEO, the organization took on that way of being. Every meeting was about the money. Every conversation was about, are we ahead? Are we behind on the money? As a result of that, their employee engagement just plummeted. They lost, I mean, they had huge amounts of turnover. And it came down to the fact that everything in a business, every problem in a business starts as a leadership problem. He was great. He had a very high competence with the numbers, but he didn't have clarity about where we're going. He didn't build community of trust and collaboration. He wasn't creating a culture of people first, and as a result, the whole organization suffered. And so when they were able to diagnose that and understand that clarity, community, and culture, then as the CEO changed, the rest of the organization changed as well.
Yes, it absolutely trickles down.
Yeah,
Yes. And that's also why I actually love to work with leaders, because once they create a change for themselves, once they go through that transformation, they create a ripple effect, right?
exactly. Exactly. And that's so exciting to see. I think that's one of the things that gets us so excited is when we see a leader change, we can almost guarantee, give it 2, 3 months, and everybody around them is going to be following in their
And
footsteps.
we've seen it happen, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Well, it gives people permission
Yes.
Yeah.
in a way, right? It give the leadership team permission that they work closely with, and then if that person also communicates directly with the rest of the organization, then it's also the direct permission. However, sometimes it just really trickles through the different levels as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's all about also humanizing the workplace, right? You cannot just live off the numbers.
Right.
The numbers are a consequence. And what's also important there is the relationships that you mentioned, right?
Yes.
Those relationships and the people of the organization, because after all, people are the heart of the organization. Let's not forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what we've seen so many times is that leaders will agree with those statements,
Mhm.
but they won't necessarily know how to operationalize those beliefs and
Or
ideals.
prioritize.
Right. And so I think that's where, whether it's coaching, whether it's talking through the 7 C's, that's really where a lot of power comes, is because the belief that we see leaders typically have, they believe that people are important. They believe that that people want to do a good job. Those beliefs can become practices and actions.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. There's always this gap, or
Yeah.
not always, often this gap
Yes.
between the between theory and practice, or
Yes.
between the conceptualization of things and the reality of
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah, when we started our company, one of the core values we identified was ridiculous practicality, and it was for that very reason, is because we got so tired of lots of theory and no tools, no practicality, no implementation. So what you're saying is ringing near and dear to our hearts, Regina.
And I can say the same. You know what? Ridiculous practicality. I love that. I actually have found a few terms in your materials that I really like, and I'm gonna go into another one a little bit later
Okay,
Okay,
because
okay.
I definitely wanna expand on that too. But yeah, ridiculous practicality. Love it, love it. Now, let's take maybe a little bit of a deeper dive on one of those traits
Okay.
sure.
or
Sure.
issues, depending on how we look at it, right?
You tell
Depending on the
me, is there
perspective.
one that you want to talk about, or just open it up for
Yeah,
us?
I would like to talk about clarity.
Okay.
So, why is clarity so important, or the lack thereof so disastrous sometimes? Although I do, at the same time, I find clarity is a very interesting concept, because chaos is actually sometimes also good.
Yeah.
And we forget about that. And there's a lot of richness and a lot of possibilities in chaos. Sometimes we need to go through a phase of chaos in order to get to the next level of clarity, right? But anyway, that just as a side. So why is clarity so important, and why is it one of the seven?
Yeah. So let's define what clarity is, at least according to the definition we're using.
Okay.
Clarity is about, does everyone on the team and everyone in the organization see where we're going? Okay, so there's really 4 questions that every person needs to be able to answer to get to clarity. Where are we going, right? What's the vision we're trying to accomplish or the mountain we're trying to climb? Where are we going? Second question, how are we getting there? What's the plan? What's the strategy? Question number 3, what's my role in getting there? So every person needs to understand how they fit into that big mission that you're trying to accomplish. And then finally, why is it important to get there in the first place? How is it going to make the world a better place? How is it going to benefit people? Beyond just financial, how's it going to help create a better world for the people around us? And the reason that this one is so important is because when team members don't have clarity, they will default to whatever is easiest to do. That's not blame. That's from Cal Newport research. And it's that if we're not clear on what we're doing, we're going to default to what's easiest. Well, what is easiest is usually not what is most important. And so clarity becomes really important. If we're going to accomplish something together, then we've got to know where we're going, how we're getting there, what each person's role is, and why it's important to get there in the first place.
And knowing those 4 questions is so important for a leader to be able to test whether or not clarity is present. If those questions are asked and everybody on your team is on the same page with the answers, then you know you've got clarity.
Right. Yeah, and then you can share the vision. So it's really the what, the how me, and the why
Yes,
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 yes.
exactly.
in short form. Okay,
Yes,
Yeah,
love
great.
it,
yeah.
love it. We will steal that and give you credit the first 3 times that we
Okay,
use it.
I take it. The what, the how me, and the why.
Love it,
Yes.
love it.
Okay. So in your book, and this is where we come to the next terms that I love personally too.
Okay.
So in your book, you redefine as a leader as someone who sees a clear, preferred, and desired future, gathers others around that future, and mobilizes others to create that future. Now, the 2 words that I really love here is preferred and desired, not just in this context, but it's so important for everybody's even personal vision to use
Yeah.
those words, right? So anyway, um, so let me repeat the exact words again, so
Okay.
listeners can remember it again, the exact words you use in the book. A leader is someone who sees a clear, preferred, and desired future, gathers others around that future, and mobilizes others to create that future.
Yeah.
Yeah, really beautiful definition.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
It took 20 years to come up with that. So thank you.
You know what? The most core things and the things that sound a little bit almost like simple are the hardest to get to
So
sometimes.
true, so true.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I really like that. So, in the book, you also say that every leader is either a hero or a villain. Now, that has me intrigued. Tell us more.
Mm. Yeah, so what we have found in our research and experience is
Mhm.
a good litmus test for how well you're doing as a leader is if you could somehow be a fly on the wall at people's dinner tables at night. How are they talking about you when they come home from a day of work? And sometimes people will be at that dinner table talking about their leader as if they're a villain. All of the ways that they feel bad going to work every day, all of the ways that they are stagnant, they're not pushed to grow. And then other times people go home and they talk about their leader as if they're a hero, how they're bringing out the best potential in them, how they're growing, how they're building relationships and getting results at work. But here's the difficult part about it. Whether or not people perceive you as a hero or a villain is not up to you. Everybody has different filters that they're running their interactions with you through. We were with a group a couple weeks ago where one of the participants was like, "Yeah, somebody told me they have difficulty with me because I remind them of their dad." Now that could be you know,
Very personal, yeah.
yeah, that could be somebody else who they could say that to their leader. Hey, you remind me of my dad. And that's a really positive thing.
Yeah,
But
or it could be very traumatic, right?
yes, right.
Exactly.
You're right. You don't know, and you can't do anything about that. You can't help if you remind someone of their dad and how they're going to filter that. But what you can control is whether or not you stay leashed. Um, it, we have the power to take control of our own development and potential and to make progress in our growth as a leader and to treat people with the utmost dignity and respect and honor. But what they do with that is not something that we can control.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, some of it is really very personal because we
Mm-hmm.
all have our own experiences. We have our baggage that we carry
Mm-hmm.
around, and certain things trigger us, and
Yeah.
Yes.
sometimes we don't even know why,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so ultimately, you can't control if a person thinks you're a villain or a hero, but you
Mhm.
can control the data that you give them.
Mm-hmm.
That
Mhm.
influences that. And so that's but at the end of the day, we all, like Dorothy said, we all look at the leaders before us and the leaders who we work with, and we either called them a hero or a villain. And we've had leaders in our lives who their name has replaced cuss words. Like if I slam my thumb with a hammer, I'm saying that person's name. I'm not cussing. Instead, that's just how bad a leader can be, or they
Mm-hmm.
can give us life and make our lives so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, and then a leader can then also be both because it depends on who sees them,
Yeah,
who
Yes.
perceives
absolutely.
them, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or this one day and this the next day. And that's also that there's also that. There's
Yes.
also that. It sometimes
Yeah.
depends on the situation as well, and
People are
people
complex.
change.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Or-
and I think in those types of situations, a lot of it comes down to what is the majority of the feeling over
Mm-hmm.
time. Like there are bosses who I've had who I would consider heroic bosses. We write about a guy named Phil who was a boss of mine, and Phil is a heroic hero, a heroic leader to me.
Mhm.
At the same time, there were definitely days that I didn't say great things about Phil because I didn't appreciate the feedback that he
Mm-hmm.
gave me, or I didn't like a decision that he made, or and so we can go back and forth. The big question is, the majority of the time, are you a
Mm-hmm.
hero or are you a villain?
Right. Right, right. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit before, but I want to say this again. You know, many leaders study a bunch of leadership skills. They attend all these leadership seminars, even like really high ticket ones and very renowned
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
seminars, and they read books and but then when it comes to implementing what they learned, they find it's
Mm-hmm.
more challenging that it should be or that they thought it would be.
Yes.
And
yeah,
so, how is your Unleashed leadership book or framework different? We already talked
Mm-hmm.
about the ridiculous
yeah,
practicalities. I want to
Mm-hmm.
come back to that a little bit. How
sure.
does the framework and the book, how do they help leaders during implementation?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So first of all, how our book is different is it serves as a diagnostic tool. One of the most common questions we hear from leaders is, where do I start? How do I know what I need? I mean, it can be overwhelming walking into a Barnes and Noble and seeing the shelves and shelves of leadership material that's out there. And I mean, you can walk in and get overwhelmed by that and walk right back out
yeah,
and don't know which one you're supposed to be picking up. And there's some really rich stuff on those shelves that people need to be reading, but they don't know which one to choose. So if you start with Unleash Leadership and you go through that diagnostic process of what really is my root issue or issues that I have going on presently, then you know, okay, this is where I start. And our process walks you through a very specific plan of where to go from there. Each of our 7 issues also comes with what we call breakaways. And these breakaways are the tools that you can implement to get unleashed.
We lost you. Oh,
Oh, yes, yes. I, I was, I was muted. Thanks. I said practical again. Yes, I had a little noise in the background, so I muted myself real quick. Okay. Yeah. So, it's really, really important, right, to have those tools right away so that you don't only get the theory, but you know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so in your experience, then, which of the seven issues, I'm going to say them again
Mm-hmm.
because it's a long list, right? So character, competence, capacity, clarity, community, culture, or consistency. Which
Mm-hmm.
of those seven issues tends to cause the most damage, and what have you seen in organizations with regards to that?
Mm.
yeah, yeah. The what we've seen is it's an issue that we already talked about actually. Clarity is the one that causes the most damage. If leaders aren't clear where we're going, how we're getting there, what each person's role is, why it's important to get there, the reason it causes so much damage is because clarity is really the whole reason we're going to work together, right? The reason you're getting paid, the reason we're coming to work is about this clear thing we're supposed to accomplish. And so if we aren't clear on that, it becomes impossible for a healthy culture to take shape because everybody's doing their own thing. It becomes very difficult for community to take place. People aren't going to trust each other because they think you're doing the wrong thing and you think I'm doing the wrong thing. Capacity becomes a major problem because where are we spending our time, energy, and attention? It's kind of just going
Right.
out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency becomes a problem. We don't even know what to be consistent in. And so, of those seven issues, the one that causes the most problems on an organization-wide scale is clarity.
Okay. And would you say that this clarity also includes things like transparency, authenticity, of
Yeah,
course, clear communication, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's
Mm-hmm.
out of question.
yeah. We would say I would say those. The transparency, the authenticity. I would say that's
Mhm.
really part of community as well. So
Okay.
clarity, uh, they're important no matter which label you give them.
Mhm. Yeah.
But at least in our framework, clarity is about are we headed in the same direction? And then community is how do we treat each other as we're headed in that direction?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And that again then is also related to culture. And
Yeah,
it's all really interrelated
it
anyway,
is.
because it's just a conceptualization, right? Sometimes we need those frameworks to keep us on track with how we think about things, but in reality it's all tied together.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It
yes.
all
Yeah, it's just
overlaps.
providing common language.
Exactly. Okay, so I have another completely unrelated question. I wanted to go back a little bit to the other book here.
Mm-hmm.
The let me
Getting
find Getting
unbusy.
Unbusy. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Getting Unbusy. So talk about that. What is this about?
Yeah. So the little bit of background to this is in 2013, I went to my doctor with all kinds of chronic migraine headaches and heart palpitations and extreme exhaustion. And I was really nervous about what was going on. Went to the doctor, and the doctor said, tell me about your life. And I said, oh, I have a good life. It's just really busy, right? You've probably heard people say that all the time. I said, it's a good life. It's just really
How
busy.
are you doing?
Right.
I'm
I'm
busy.
busy. Right. And so people say it all the time. So he said to me, well, what do you mean by busy life? And I said, oh, well, I work 50 to 60 hours a week for this leadership development program. I'm working on my doctorate 10 to 20 hours a week. Dorothy and I have three small kids. We're trying to raise them, have a good
That was
time.
our life in 2013.
Right. We're helping our church develop leadership programs, just kind of listed everything that we were doing. And my doctor said, I think I know what's wrong with you. And it's not a brain tumor, and it's not a heart problem. It's that you're stressed out. And Regina, I thought he was full of it. I thought he was a horrible doctor. And but because he said you're stressed out, and the reason you're stressed out is you're busy, I was working on my doctorate, and I was like, well, everybody talks about how busy they are. Let me research this a little bit. And so I went back and I started researching what is busyness, what's it doing to us, is it good or bad, and how do you but still maintain a high degree of accomplishment without a sense of busyness. And it ended up being for me really a passion project, and kind of consumed the rest of my doctoral
Mm-hmm.
research is what is busyness? How does it affect leaders and those that they lead?
And how it fits into the Unleashed framework is it is all about that capacity issue. So, if we are with a leader or with an organization that has identified that capacity is their root issue, then all of that busyness material is where that fits in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's also about really being present, right? Being
Mm-hmm.
present in the moment. It's about being present with yourself, taking care of your own needs as well as a leader. And self-leadership, must include self-care because otherwise
Absolutely.
it's not complete. Oh, I think we
Yes.
can agree on that. It's a very important piece of it. Also, this the presence. I mean, presence has several different meanings, but it's extremely important in leadership, both present to other people, but also present to your own needs and present in the moment, which is then what takes away that feeling of overwhelm. That
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is completely self-created, of course, and that feeling
Yes.
feeling of stress. So
Yeah.
I studied a lot of holistic healing stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
very much, I think it's probably one of the few good doctors. No, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. I didn't say that. But but the ones that really keep a more holistic, a holistic perspective, right?
Yeah.
They are the ones that are really there for our good, because yeah, it's again, we said before everything is connected. Well, yes, everything is connected here
Right.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You cannot say, oh, the organ is sick, but I'm not stressed. That's usually not the case, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so we have really covered a lot of ground here today. And I wanted to just ask you, before I ask where people can find you,
Mm-hmm.
is there anything else that you would like to share that I haven't asked you?
I don't know that there's anything that you haven't asked us. I would just emphasize to anybody who's listening to this and you're feeling that leash, the first step is you decide. You decide to get unleashed, and then you figure out. And that's where we really
Mm-hmm.
that's where we can help, where we come in. But there has to be a decision first. This isn't okay. I'm not okay staying leashed. I'm not okay staying stuck. And I'm not okay being a leader who makes my team stuck because of my leash.
Mm-hmm. That's the first step.
Right. And a decision is always the first step of any intentional
Yes.
Yep.
transformation, because we also have forced transformation, right? Sometimes we
Yes.
are pushed
Yeah.
into it, but it's
Also
not
true.
necessarily because we made a conscious decision.
Right.
So, but in this case, yes, conscious decision in order to experience this intentional
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
transformation. Okay, and now my last but equally important question, where can people most easily find you online?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's two places they can find us online, and we have a special gift for the people who are
Oh,
going to
yeah.
listen to this. One place they'll find me online is on LinkedIn under Dr. Garland Vance. I post there almost every day and engage there. And then second place that folks can find us is at advanceleadership.live. No D on the end of advance. Advanceleadership.live. And here's the free gift. If anybody listening to this goes to advanceleadership.live/free book, we have a free audiobook version of Unleashed Leadership. It's not one of those you have to pay $10 to get a free book kind of situations. No, it is a free audiobook, and it's our Unleashed Leadership read by Dorothy and I.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun recording it, and we added bonus material where there's impromptu conversations between the two of us about some of the things that we had written and wanted to expound on in the written copy, but we're trying really hard to keep that to about 120 pages. Of course, the print copy is available at Amazon if people would rather read it. But we invite anyone to go to our website and download that free audiobook.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for offering that. I had actually seen that on Garland's LinkedIn profile
Yeah.
this morning. So, yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much again for sharing your rich expertise with us on Rise to Lead, Dorothy and Garland. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thanks,
Thank
Regina. It's been a
you.
pleasure to be with you
Yeah,
today.
great conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. And to everyone listening, share the episode and tune in again next time. And bye for now.
If something in your leadership feels off, or you're ready to lead with more ease and authenticity, let's talk. In a free 60-minute Lead and Thrive session, we'll cut through the noise, get honest about what's really going on, and map out your next bold move. No cookie cutter, no surface level, just real clarity and the freedom to lead as you. Spots are limited. Go to transformyourperformance.com/lead thrive session to grab yours. Lead like you mean it.